Greetings, humans and non-humans. I'm back. I'm back from the basement. I'm free to do what I want. Well, I guess not whatever I want. But I am back because I want to talk about Dead by Daylight lore. If you know me, you would know that DBD lore is something that's really special to me. I always talk about it with my friends and whatnot. But I go online and I see a bunch of weird misconceptions and assumptions that were never there. And you know what? I decided, you know what? Maybe I'll be a DBD lore channel thing for a bit. So I could just talk about, fun tidbits about the lore of DBD. And due to recent events, I decided that we should do a lore video on the Halloween chapter. Myers, please come back. I can't believe. F in the chat for Myers and Lori, and especially Haddonfield, and mostly for Haddonfield, because I guess if you those aren't aware, as of this video's release, you can't buy these characters nor their cosmetics. If you have them already, you get to play as them and still keep them and whatnot. But unfortunately, Haddonfield is gone. They will be missed just because I really like suburban maps, and we don't have that many in DBD. I guess we got Badham Preschool, and then I guess Garden of Joy kind of counts, but oof, who wants to go to Garden of Joy? Am I right, fellas? So, you may be questioning yourself, whoa, Dweller, what do you mean by Halloween lore? There's no lore. Or you might be like, oh, Dweller, I know about Halloween lore. Michael Myers could somehow take down the entity. Ooh. Well, for starters, yes, there is lore. It's very little of it. And secondly, no, Myers cannot take on the entity. I want to present what we have officially, and then maybe theorize a bit. So, if you're unaware, Halloween was actually Dead by Daylight's first licensed chapter. So this was chapter 2. Chapter 1 was the nurse chapter, and then second is the Halloween chapter. And for the first license, I think they did pretty well. They did a pretty good job. I mean, granted, DBD back then looked much differently, and the balance was pretty whack, but overall, I could say that they adapted the character Myers really good, and Lori as well. So this was a very early stage of DBD, and Myers was the first stalking killer, which he still stalks in this reworked form, which I do like his rework a lot more, especially since he could switch between stealth and pursuer mode, which is something the original Myers couldn't do, so it does feel more Mikey feeling. I guess the only weird part is like he has like an extended lunge, which feels and looks kind of weird from this animation wise. From the survivor point of view, it looks fine killer point of view, so I guess that's that. But as well as that, Lori introduced both of them, not because both of them introduced perks that evolved around the obsession mechanic, where the killer would either play around with, or avoid, or save for later their one survivor among the four, which is pretty cool mechanic. It's underused these days. I don't think we had a obsession perk in quite some time, which is so unfortunate because a lot of people were like wondering, oh, what are the weird spidery tendril thingies on the profile picture, and that's the obsession mechanic right there, doing its thing. So yeah, Myers has perks where you would save your obsession for last as you get stronger and better while messing with the other survivors, or you could do play with the food, which is pretty fun perk where you chase your obsession for a bit, but then you just leave them alone, so you just you're spooking them for a bit. And Lori was the first survivor that had a mechanic to fight back through decisive strike. That was pretty cool. Overall, gameplay wise, I think most people would put Halloween like at maximum, like the lowest it would be tier. I would say that the Halloween chapter as a whole is like A tier. There's some weird, rough edges that I guess we could discuss about in a bit. Well, not a bit. I don't think we'll be discussing that because we're here for the lore. So yeah, let's start. Let's start with the lore that I guess everyone's curious to asking. What lore? So DBD has lore for the Halloween chapter in both the character bios as well as that. Unfortunately, they've been removed, but Benedict Baker quotes and from the DBD store page. So yeah, this is almost lost media right here. I'm going to be reading all this lore right here. So let's start with Myers right here. So the in-game lore states, some humans are simply bad seeds. Seeds infused with a distilled and pure form of evil. Michael Myers is one of those seeds. He had no issues causing pains of others. Instead, it was exactly what he sought. Even life can be tough on those minds filled with terror. The difference is just how one goes about to solve those problems. For Michael, he had to kill for some inner peace. As he took his sister's life, the police found a silent boy dressed in a clown at the scene. When one stumbles upon a growing fire, one does not pour gasoline on it, but this was an action taken by officials that had no idea it would shape this demon in the boy's body. Sending Michael to a mental institution was a feeble attempt to save the child. Unsuccessfully, therapy and nightly screams just made him even more introverted and deranged. People hoped that Michael Myers would end up as a parenthesis, not trying to say that word, soon to be forgotten and buried. A failure that soon were to rot away. But then, he escaped. Okay, so it's kind of weird, because DBD, kind of implies that Myers being in the mental institute made him worse, which is something that's never been established in the Halloween lore, which is really odd for DBD Michael. And then, as well as that, they describe that Myers killing gives him peace, which is another weird thing. I don't fully understand what DBD was cooking here for this their first licensed lore. To be fair, this was written at a time pre Halloween 2018, where we start to slowly come away from Myers having motives and whatnot. So I guess they kind of wanted to give Myers some reasoning to why he kills for inner peace. I kind of disagree with this take right here entirely. I know people like to do stuff like this with Myers, but I think what made Myers really cool as a character and eerie was that he would kill and we just didn't know why. It just did it. Loomis, like he just concluded that Myers was just evil incarnate that just took the shape of a man, and that's just a cool concept right there. But yeah, DBD decided to just give Myers this weird lore, but there's still more to come. So for example, we have well, this quote isn't said who was said by it, but it's most likely Benedict Baker, who, for those who aren't aware, Benedict Baker was a character that what we assume was a survivor in trial, and he would like write down his encounters with killers and survivors and whatnot. And this is what he, this unknown quote, which we're presuming is Benedict Baker, had to say. Something, or rather someone, is here. I've never seen this shape before. A man hiding behind a mask. He comes with a determination, a more worrying, but more worryingly, he comes with an apparent grasp of the hunt. He does not strike me as someone who even went unwillingly to this place. Is there more to this being that I can fathom? Unknown quote, potentially from Benedict Baker. Thank you, DBD Wiki, for saving these quotes here. And yeah, this is interesting because at the time, all the previous killers, they have like some modifications that you could tell that the entity had to alter in order to make them, shape them into killers. But Myers willingly is just killing. That's pretty cool because at the time we have Trapper, Hillbilly, Wraith, and then the Nurse, which you could see that the trapper has hooks, you know, attached to him. The Wraith is disfigured. The Hillbilly is ultra disfigured right there, but that, granted, he was already born like that, but now he has like a chainsaw and whatnot. And then the nurse is interesting enough. Every time she teleports, she's in pain and whatnot. So, like, you know, the entity did some horrific, you know, molding and crafting to these killers to make them who they are. But for Michael Myers, he just was straight out, you know, ready to go. You know, right out of the box. He's on the way killing. So this is interesting because I keep hearing people saying that, oh yeah, we don't know how Myers got into the fog. He was just following Laurie Strode when the entity took Laurie, and that's how Myers entered in the realm and stuff. But where is this? Where is this stated? Chat, someone, anyone in the comments, please explain where we're getting this information from, because I feel like it's like spread around, like if it's common, you know, stuff. And then we even got another misconception about Laurie that I actually want to discuss as well, because I'm curious, because like I'm assuming maybe this was said on a dev stream or something that I can't find, because other than that, I don't fully understand where we're getting these lore misconceptions right here, or assumptions, not even misconceptions, because for all we know, it could be actually what the devs intended, but who knows. I guess next up we could discuss Laurie Strode, which there's a bit of lore for her. Actually, more than Myers, which, I mean, I guess makes sense because Laurie's, you know, an actual character with thoughts and stuff, unlike Myers, who doesn't have any of those. So, next up, we got Laurie. You never know what really matters in life until you realize it might end soon. Laurie is one of those who just wants a quiet life in the suburbs, hanging out with friends, family, and maybe go on a date or two. Which, okay, actually, pause right here. This is kind of wild because in the movie Halloween, Laurie was kind of too shy to even want a date. You know, like sure, she confessed that she liked Ben Tramer, but that's about it. So this is kind of a departure right here, just like Michael. Let's continue. Laurie is a typical teenager. You could pass her on the street and not think twice. She does her homework and is liked by friends, teachers, and family. A simple night of babysitting turned into something that will forever change the course of her young life. A knife swooshing through the air, screams from afar, noises that play tricks with her mind, but not Laurie. She's made of something stronger, something that won't give up. So, this is interesting because it implies that the events of the first Halloween film has ended. You know, because the night's over. We don't know when the entity abducted her. That's not in the game anywhere. We do got some extended lore. We'll start off with the lore from the DLC store page of all places, which is a very odd place to get lore, but hey, we can't get much. You know, we gotta take all we could get. Did you know there's lore for the Chatterer, you know, joining the entity's realm because he noticed Pinhead was missing, and then he found the entity's realm. But you only get that lore if you follow the Hellraiser collection announcement page, which, yeah, that's weird. You just look for that. But okay, more Laurie Strode lore. The babysitter. Laurie Strode's suburban way of life was simple, even boring from time to time. Sunday night dinners, game shows on TV. She filled her days with school, earning a few bucks babysitting the neighbors' kids, and seeing friends. Her life and her name would never had made the headlines or earned its spot in the town's history if it weren't for that one fateful night. So, this store page lore doubles down that this Laurie is post Halloween 1, so this is because a lot of licensed chapters, they would actually have the characters taking the middle of the events of their story, which this right here is but you could see DBD as a sequel to the first Halloween. So yeah, add that to the confusing Halloween timeline, you know. Yeah, the Halloween timeline, and you know, the timeline where we all split around after the first movie, and then or we do our own thing if we're Rob Zombie. And then we have Benedict Baker. This is 100% confirmed to be him right here making this quote. So let me read this one real quickly. I stumbled upon another soul in this doomed corner of the earth. I do not know her name, but there is something about her. I never crossed paths with her, but she seems as if she's been doing this for a she's been doing this for too long. Weary of the environment, clad in a kind of a controlled panic, constantly looking over her shoulder, on the lookout. So Benedict Baker notes that Laurie seems like she's a veteran of this type of stuff, and and she's pretty wary about her surroundings. So yeah, the reason why I included these Benedict Baker quotes is because this is the only lore we have of Myers and Laurie in the fog. So a big pet peeve of mine is DBD lore is like 90% entering the fog lore, and then a sliver of stuff that's like what happens in Entity's trials, which is so weird. I don't know why DBD's obsessed with this, because like when they introduce the tomes, like I kind of wish they would do that, but luckily we have like the Observer lore and the new residents of the Observer Tower, as well as that I'm trying to remember her name, but this one character who's exploring the Entity's realm and other places. So that's cool, we're getting that, but I want to know about our characters and what they're up to in the Entity's realm. Granted, I guess I could make a video explaining maybe why it's kind of tricky to make lore about that, because there is a bit some tricks to it, but I think there's like writing potential right here. But that, alas, that is for another video. So you would think that's all, right? But no, there's actually one more piece of lore, and that is Haddonfield. Which, I mean, I might as well just get this out of the way, because this is gonna be lost media in a bit. As of this recording, I think I got like 10 hours to even obtain this lore, but okay, from the store page we have, you are now entering Haddonfield. Nobody would have ever suspected that a place like Haddonfield could shape the terror that is Michael Myers. It is a calm place, a secluded place, a place where you could take a midnight stroll with your dog and never think twice about what is hiding in the dark. But that Haddonfield is no more. Instead, a new place is formed after the events, a place where you make sure that their door is locked, a place where you might see a neighbor just glazing in the dark as they thought they saw someone. So this is from the store, but we also have Haddonfield lore from in-game. So those who are unaware, when you go into custom games, you can actually read little snippets about the place you're gonna go to. And here's Lambkin Lane, Haddonfield. The lore we got is: a simple street with houses witnessed the horrors that took place. A jungle gym where children once learned to climb. Sidewalks where fathers taught their daughters to ride a bike. All gone. Instead, sits in the palm of the entity, forever held in darkness. So, in case you're unaware, in DBD lore, all the realms and maps that you traverse in are just based on the memories of survivor, killers, or other people that aren't playable. And the entity, shapes them using its body, made out of auric cells, which is, which changes based on memories. So that could explain why it's never like lore accurate, like, oh, there wasn't like 2 large exit gates for people to escape from in Haddonfield, or stuff like that. It's basically an excuse to explain why the maps, even in the same map you go over and over, there's some variations and whatnot, or if it's based on something that's not lore accurate. So that is all confirmed stuff, but I want to make a little side thing about, what we could theorize upon or what we cannot theorize upon. So one thing that I've never fully understand was a lot of people like, oh yeah guys, Laurie Strode, she's like 18 in the DBD because it takes time after Halloween, which the lore does say we can confirm with the lore that Laurie's post Halloween events of that film, but we don't even know how much time has passed. Like, I'll give everyone the benefit of the doubt and say, oh, maybe a year has passed or whatnot, but I kind of wish the lore would have said something like that, but unfortunately it doesn't say that. I'm just gonna assume this Laurie's 18 as well, but we don't really have much to go on for that. I'm assuming, I have to make an assumption that perhaps this was just stated somewhere in like in a DVD dev stream, but we don't have that at the moment. And then next up, we got Myers. So this is based on Halloween 1 Myers. So I know, like, in the spotlight video, Matthew Cote refers to them as siblings, but that was because that was just the norm at the time. But I'm pretty confident that these two aren't siblings, and I really hope so, just because having Laurie and Myers be related, and that's why Myers is trying to hunt her down, is just kind of like lame. It gives the shape motives. I think, like I said, Myers is just more cooler and creepier if we just don't know why he kills. And which is why I like the Blumhouse trilogy. Well, 2/3 of the Blumhouse trilogy. Because, you know, it felt like a return to form of Michael Myers. I guess we're curious, if we were to put DBD Myers, he's taken before like any split in the timelines, just like, I guess 1 year, which is cool because if you watch the original film, Myers disappears, we don't see what happens to him, and then I guess the entity just took them both. And then I guess we could get this misconception out of the way that Myers is super strong because he could just straight up kill survivors and disobey the entity, not, you know, deny them the sacrifices. No, that's not how it works. If anything, the entity could just stop Myers from killing if it really wanted to. The reason why we know that the entity is pretty okay with this is because otherwise, why would you be scored blood points? If you don't know, in the game, whenever you do certain actions, you're awarded blood points. And blood points is basically the entity being appeased for your certain actions right here. As you can see in this footage right here, Myers is getting, you know, points for chasing, destroying, you know, downing survivors and whatnot and putting them on hooks. And you also get points for killing survivors. So the entity is pretty cool with it. I guess maybe you could make an argument that early Myers could use Tombstone and just kill survivors without doing any hook states, and you would get entity displeased, but I think that's just a thing that's no longer a mechanic anymore. Getting entity displeased. I think you get entity hungers, but even then, I think they pretty much fixed that. So yeah. So those are the only two misconceptions we could talk about. I guess we could talk about a few things before we end this lore video. Which, yeah, I want to make time to talk more about this Halloween stuff. I guess we could point out that Myers from DBD and Myers from the movie are not 1-to-1. So you could even say this is an alternate universe. I mean, it is an alternate universe, but you could say an alternate universe. So thanks to this image provided by Affectionate Sky 981 on Reddit, if we were to compare Myers to a more accurate movie portrayal of him, yeah, Myers is kind of huge. To be fair, they probably did this because, one, Myers being huge is pretty common, and two, they just want to share the skeleton of the previous killers, because this is early DBD when making original skeletons for certain killers was like not too common. I know, like, for example, making a skeleton for the spirit was like a pretty expensive procedure to do, but they decided to reuse. I know, like, Trapper and this base skeleton was used for like even future characters like the Doctor, I believe, and whatnot. So it was pretty common practice. As well as that, I guess they wanted to make Myers look cool because it would be kind of weird having, like, you know, the Trapper, Rafe, Hillbilly, Nurse. Hey guys, it's me, short Michael Myers here. Which, I mean, it's kind of sad because, like, Myers being like average height just fed into the whole idea of them being a shape, you know. But at the same time, tall Myers is kind of cool. As well as that, you can notice that the clothing isn't the same. So those aren't aware, in the original 1970s film, Myers was actually wearing dark green coveralls. And it's weird because you would think he was dark blue. That's what everyone thinks. It's not. I mean, when I cosplay as Myers, I use dark blue just because that's what I think of. And the big reason why is because the movie's lighting is pretty blue, but even in real life, if you were to buy these coveralls, which they do exist, these were based on real clothing and whatnot, The coveralls do look like they're changing to dark blue and darker lighting, which is kind of wild. So I'm fine with Myers having this dark blue. I would have liked as a cosmetic option to have the classic iconic green, as well as that more accurate boots and a mask. You know, that would be nice. It's not supposed to be jet black or like that. It's supposed to be a bit messy, and it's supposed to also be oversized. The mask was oversized. I don't think people also known that. So I mean, you could just say that this is the lore where an alternate universe where Myers was just beefed up and he had different clothing and his mask was worse than than our original Michael Myers had. So yeah, there's that, I guess we could say. And I guess we could go over the cosmetics and what they're referenced to, you know? So yeah, that's how desperate we are for our Halloween lore. So I'm here in game right now, as you could see. Well, actually, you can't see this. Okay, there we go. There we go. Okay, that concerned me. So we have Myers here. And oh man, I'm gonna miss you, Myers. I could show you my lore accurate build later. For customization, we have the basic, the shape, and then we also, if you prestige him, you get the bloody shape. Which looks cool. I like how the mask, you know, has a little bit of blood splattered right there. I'm not a fan of the gore blade. It's because I don't like the little red veiny things. I prefer just a normal bloody knife of a dripping animation, but alas, DBD had to do something weird. We'll go into the lore about the knife in a bit. It actually has some lore. And then we have the escaped patient outfit. So those who aren't aware, you may be confused, like, what is this? When did Myers wear a hospital gown? And he does. For a brief moment in the movie, we even see Myers. So like Dr. Loomis, who was Myers' caretaker, goes to the St. Grove's cemetery. I forgot what the place was called, but the place where they kept Myers, you know, locked up for the mental institute, right? And Myers escapes, but basically he climbs over the car that Dr. Loomis was using to get over there, and then he drives away. And for a brief moment, we see him in the hospital gown. We don't see him with the mask, you know, of course. He had no face, but DBD Myers, I'm pretty sure they're not allowed to show a maskless Myers. As interesting as that would be, that kind of breaks the character because his whole gimmick is wearing a mask. As well, that we do see the nightgown again when we find the mechanic's, you know, dead body, you know where his clothes were taken, you know, where Myers stole his clothes, and we also see the hospital gown, you know, there. Well, it's not even a hospital gown, but just inmate gown, I guess you could say. And then Myers is actually pretty cool in that actually, let me get this on. In that they have unique weapons just for fun, you know, which it kind of references that Myers is a man that could wield many weapons right here. So we have the pipe, pretty funny. I like this one a lot. It's my alternate weapon. But there is the flathead skull piercer, which is a screwdriver, which is extremely long. I guess either the entity forged a long one, or Myers just comes from a weird world where screwdrivers are just like this. Yeah, pretty odd. And then we also have his first cut, which the lore states: the knife used during the 1963 murder of Judith Myers by her 6-year-old brother Michael Myers. The blade is still stained with blood. This is my favorite weapon just because it looks nicer compared to the default knife. I just like it. It's even longer, which, I mean, ooh. And then you're curious about the gore blade lore. It states, the blood of victims seem to pulse within the blade itself. So those little weird red tendril thingies, it appears to be alive somehow. Weird. I don't like it. It looks fine on some characters, but I guess we could do a little side tangent quickly. Let's say the Demogorgon, you know, we have these weird red tendrils growing around his fingers. That just looks weird. Don't do that, DBD, please. And then for Laurie Strode, I guess we could talk about her cosmetics real quickly. So we have her default appearance, which is based on the last moments in the film when she confronts Myers. Then we have a prestige bloody version of this. Cool. But then, interesting enough, we received cosmetics for her wolf in sheep's clothing outfit, which is the outfit she wears in the beginning of the Halloween film. I really like that we have an option to wear like what she would wear in her day-to-day life. And then the weirdest part is that she actually has a secret cosmetic type, which is, for all I know, original. Like, I'm not sure, maybe some Halloween comic had this look or something. Unfortunately, it doesn't have a set thing, so we can't set it automatically. You have to make a preset if you want to do that. It's yeah, it's weird. I mean, I guess I kind of, the hair is interesting. You could choose between, but I think I might like. I don't really play Laura that often, but if I want to play, I guess I would just use her longer hair from this cosmetic and just play her default, her more iconic appearance. So yeah, those are Laura and Michael's cosmetics. And before we end the video, I would like to share my lore accurate build, and that is save the best for last, just because you should have an obsession, you know, and you want to save that person for last, and you get the little benefit of, you know, stabbing much more quicker and more efficiently. That feels very Myers-y. Fire up, because Myers' mechanics allows him to like get stronger, you know, stat-wise from the average killer, but then we play on that by adding it even more. So basically he's gonna be able to break things faster and, you know, pick up things faster, and yeah, I like that. That's pretty cool. And then we have brutal strength, because Myers is supernaturally very strong, and I feel like these two pair up really nicely, you know. So like in the end game, you know, you're just destroying and shredding through pallets, you know, like a monster. And we have this with Enduring, as Myers is very resilient. He takes beatings that no mortal man should normally take. So these are my perks I use. Add-ons I change a lot, but I really like Hairbrush, where you could, when you activate Evil Incarnate, you could break pallets 50% faster, and this stacks with Fire Up and Brutal Strength. So yeah, you're just turbo breaking. And if you don't like the new Slaughtering Strike mechanic, you could remove it by using Tuft of Hair, so you can have like old school Myers. But I like to increase some Stalker speed right here, because I like to go in stealth mode. Basically, when I play as Myers, I stealth mode, you know, stalk, power up, go do my thing, and then go retreat to stealth mode, you know, and I'm constantly staying in stealth mode. Even sometimes I don't even go tier 3, and I just stay in stealth and pursuer mode and switch back and forth. But basically just pursuer mode when I try to get close after I you know, jump scared them with my stalker mode. And normally I would run a Mori, because I just like, you know, seeing the Mori animations, but Myers is one of the few characters that has base kit Mori. When someone's on death hook and you're in your Evil Incarnate mode, you could pick up a survivor and kill them. The animation looks weird, so instead I down them and then kill them. So yeah, that's really cool, and that's Michael Myers and DBD. I'm gonna miss them so much. As you could tell, this is the time when we have Chaos Shuffle, and the next day Myers will be gone, and I'm not sure if I'm ready for this, you know? Like, this is like a little side tangent thing, but DBD, what got my attention was actually Stranger Things, but Michael Myers was always a close second. And, you know, he's actually one of my most played killers. I would pull up the statistics, but I think he's like number 3 or 4 of my most played killers of all time. And it's a shame that Myers is disappearing, because unlike Pinhead, where I feel like that might be permanent, Myers is up in the air if he'll come back or not. And I really hope he does, just because he did put DBD on the map. Without Myers, we wouldn't have Dead by Daylight, I feel like. And also, DBD, come on. You could have updated his model. You reworked Laura, you reworked Haddonfield, but Myers, alas, we won't see the Myers model rework. I've been the Basement Dweller. Take care, everyone. Have yourself a groovy day / night. If you want more DBD lore videos, comment below and I'll do more. Probably something more interesting, like, I don't know, the Yamaoka bloodline lore. That'd be cool. Anyways, I've been the Basement Dweller. See ya all.